Hi everyone, welcome to Science Tech Day. So today I'm going to take you through on tools which are used in our workshop, the tools you must have in your workshop. On tools we have to have on our workshop, we have a plier, and under plier we have what we call the combined plier. So this is our combined plier. This is how it looks like. So this end here, it looks like a cutter. It can cut something. Then here it can also hold. That's why it's called a combined plier. It can do many things, as only one like this can do many things. It can strip wires, it can cut wires, and it can also hold. So that's why it's called a combined plier. We also have this one. This is our cutter. This is what we call a side cutter. So this side cutter here, it do helps us to cut our wires, or in case you want to shorten your wire, or your wire is broken somewhere, or you've tested it and it doesn't have the continuity. So for you to cut that wire, you use this cutter to help us also cut the wire and also to shorten it. Or in case you are soldering your component on your board and the legs of your components are very long, so when you want to shorten it, you can also use this cutter to cut them. We also have this one here. This is what we call a long nozzle plier. As I told you, that this long nozzle plier here, this do helps us to hold our components. So this is how a long nozzle plier is. So for it, it doesn't look like how you see this combined plier. There's a way how it is. It has here is longer than this combined plier. So for it, we do use it to also hold our components when maybe you are soldering, or when when you want to hold some, because you know sometime where there are other components, when we are soldering, it becomes very hot. So for you to not to damage your hand, you have to use this. But remember, before we go very far, you need to understand that when you're working on a workshop, you should make sure that you have the safety measures. The PPEs has to be with you, so for you to protect yourself from this, because you have to know that some of these tools I'm showing you here can do hurt you, or can cause damage to you. So you need to also have that very well. You should protect yourself when you are going to use some of these tools here. So you have to know them very well. So some of these tools here, they can cause harm in you. So for you to protect yourself from all the harms from these tools here, you need to have the PPEs with you. You need to be protected as you, in that you shouldn't get any harm from it. We also have what we screws, and we have different screws, whereby we have the nut screws, and we also have these screwdrivers here. We have the nut screwdrivers, then we also have these screwdrivers, where we have the plus and we also have the minus. Minus is the one which is flat, and then we also have the one which is plus. So, and also we have the one which is squared screwdriver. So this is a square screwdriver. Then this one is a minus screwdriver. Then we also have a plus screwdriver. So a plus screwdrivers, this is how a plus screwdriver looks like. So you have to know how to differentiate this very well. This is a square screwdriver. This is a plus screwdriver. Then this is a minus fluid screwdriver. Some other people call it flat screwdriver. Then we also have this nut screwdriver. So you should have all these screwdrivers of different sizes and of different forms. So you should have all this with you, and you should have these screwdrivers of different sizes, different forms, in that it can help you. Even if someone brings his component or his device to be opened, you can easily open it, because you have different forms and different types of this screwdriver. So you should have this with you. We also have what we call the creeper tool. This is now for creeping. This is for creeping. So this one also, you have to know how to use them very well. We also have a tool called a stripper. So a stripper helps us also to strip our wire. The stripper tool helps us to strip our wire. In case you want your wire to be naked, some part of it you want it to be naked, or you want to solder somewhere, because now you can't solder your wire when it's insulated, because a wire has an insulated part, we have a copper wire inside, then with an insulated part, and that insulated part doesn't allow current to flow through, or the electrons can't go through a rubber. So you have to make sure that you first of all you have to remove that rubber, then after, maybe when you want to solder it, you solder it. So their work is okay. We also have what we call a brush. This is our small brush we use. Now this small brush here, this one we do use it for cleaning our boards in case our board has some darts on it. So we do use this brush here. It do helps us also to clean and also to remove the darts from it. And we also have another tool which do helps us to remove darts. We have the blower. The blower do helps us also. The blower do helps us to remove the darts, and for it, in most cases, we do use most of people bring here their pieces, and now for it to clean it very well, because they bring it here when it's already having that. Some others are even having cockroach inside. So we do use these these blowers to remove those darts from it. We also have what we call, what I'd forgotten, we also have this one here. This is what we call an Allen key. So this one you should also have this one falls under the screwdrivers here. So you should also have an Allen key. So Allen key, this one will also help you also to open your electronic devices. So you should have all this to help you. As I told you at the first, that you should have this of different sizes in order for it to work very well. We also have this tape measure. So this tape measure, in most cases, they use them to measure, in case there are those who use boards, and others even they just build. Some other people who do build radios, who do build maybe traffic lights and so on. So they use this also to measure the boards, the length and the width of the board they are going to use. So they use this, and now after measuring, you get your length. Then after that, you can use a cutter. So we use a cutter to cut it very in that size you want. We also have what we call a tweezer. So a tweezer, in most cases, we use a tweezer to hold our component. So that's the work of a tweezer. For it helps us to hold a component. But in most cases, tweezers are used when we are soldering. So when you are soldering, there are some other small components in which you cannot hold with your hands or with your fingers. And sometimes this component, when we are soldering, some of them are very hot. So we do use these tweezers to help us also hold this component when we are soldering. So you have to know the use of these all these components very well. But remember, you should also learn on how to use these components very well when you are at home. So we also have this one here. This is what we call a sucker. So this sucker, in most cases, we use it when we are soldering. I will teach you next time how to use this when you want to suck the solder. So you have to use it hand in hand with this soldering iron. So you have to use them hand in hand, these two here. So next time I'm going to teach you on how to suck a solder when you are soldering. So I will teach you very well the unwanted one. We also have what we call a tester. So a tester, in most cases, we do use it to test the electrical signal. So we do use this one here to test the electrical signal. So you test whether there's an electron going through a copper wire. So we use this to test the electrical signal. So when we are soldering, we should also, in our workshop, we should also have what we call a soldering iron. This is our soldering iron, as you see here. So you should always have a soldering iron. As you know it very well that this soldering iron helps us to solder, or when you want to join the wires together, or join your component to the board, we do use this soldering iron to actually to make them come together. Then we also have, when you're having a soldering iron, you should also have what we call a soldering stand. So what does this soldering stand do? This soldering stand also in most cases do helps us to protect us from burn, from protect us to hold this soldering iron from burning. Because now when you leave it down here, it can sometimes even burn you yourself. As you know it very well, this meltanic part of the soldering iron is very hot, so it can cause burn anytime. So you should always make sure that you have this soldering iron stand. So you should always have this. But now when having this soldering iron, you should make sure that you have a soldering iron which has a regulator, in that you can regulate the temperature, which kind of a temperature you want to use in asset on what you are going to repair. Because now the temperature we do use in on when we are repairing a phone board, it's not the same temperature we use when we are repairing a TV board. So we have to make sure that you have to differentiate this also. So you can't tell me that when you are going to repair a phone board, then you put the temperature very higher. That means you won't repair it very well. But in case there are those who can't manage the other soldering iron, which do have a regulator, you can also buy this cheaper soldering iron. But now this cheaper soldering iron, what you have to know from it, you should always read on it and you see the watts it's having. For example, you can't tell me, or you can't lie me that you can use a 60 watt soldering iron on a phone board. That means you are going to spoil each and everything. So in most cases, in a phone board, they always use 30 or 25. So those are the watts we use for what? For a phone board. So you should always make sure that you know that and you get to understand that very well. In our workshop, we do always also have, this is our hammer. You can also use this hammer. We have here different things. We also have, you should also have what we call a grinder. So a grinder, in most cases, other people use it to smoothen or to sharpen something. So you should also have a grinder. So now this is our grinder here. And then we should also have a drilling machine. And now a drilling machine, this is our drilling machine here. This one here, this is our handheld drilling machine, as you see it here. This one can help you to drill also, can help you to drill, or it can also help you to untie a screw or to tie the screw. So you have to know the use of this also. We have also this kind of drill here. This one is much bigger. This one uses electricity. Even this one uses a battery. This is handheld. You can go with it anywhere. Even if you go with it deep in the village, you can use it very well. You should also have this soldering wire. So this is our soldering wire. This is how our soldering wire. But now this is this soldering wire. It's not always good to use a lead-free solder, because in most cases it doesn't remain on a metal or on a copper wire. Even if you solder, sometimes it just falls. So for it to work very well, in most cases, some other people uses flax to add on it. So for the case of ours here, this one here has a flax. So this one here, this is the best solder one should have, because for it doesn't need you to again add in some flax for it to solder your thing very well. So you have to know that you have to make sure that your wire has flax. You have to make sure that it's not a lead free. So when it's not a lead free, sometimes it's very hard. It's very hard to use it. So it's better for you to have this one which has flax. So this one is much more better. So when you are looking for this the soldering wire, you should make sure that you look for the one which has flax on it. That will work for you very well, and in most cases it won't disturb you much. So you need to also master this very well when you are buying your soldering wire, because it matters a lot. Because now this is the basics of electronics. This is the component, the thing you have to know. You have to know how to use it in electronics, and this is what you will be using in electronics day and night. We also have this one. This is what we call a multimeter. So when we talk of a multimeter, we have different types of multimeter, whereby we have the digital multimeter, and then we also have the analog multimeter, whereby the digital multimeter has figures on it, and the other analog do always use pointer. But now the problem with the other analog, that's why most of people nowadays they no longer use analog. Analog, in most cases, it's very hard to read it, so it's better for you to use this one, which uses figures, in that at least you can read it very well. And then we also have this one. We have also different, we have the auto, we have also under this digital multimeters, we have the auto range, then we also have the manual range multimeter, whereby the auto range, you only change to where you want to test. Maybe when you want to change the continuity, you only change to the continuity, then you change, maybe when you want to test the resistor, you just change the knob to the resistor, to the resistor value, then you just test it from there. But now the other one, which is manual range, it's having many figures, so for it you have to change using from this figure to figure. But for it now, when you are testing these figures using this manual range multimeter, in case you are not sure of the component what you are testing, let me say you are testing power and a direct voltage. So for you to test a direct voltage, it's better for you, when you are not sure of what you are testing, the capacitor of it, you should begin from the highest value. So you reduce it by going back, by reducing it, so not until when it reaches 1. So when it shows you that it's 1, that means where you are it's lower, so you're again adding some just with one value. For example, for the case of multimeter, it will be again another lesson, because now it's going to prolong, so you should continue watching and subscribing and commenting on our YouTube channel, because more videos are still coming. So for the multimeter, on how to use a multimeters and how to read this value and how to test your component, even if you don't know the value of the component you are testing, the way how you can use your multimeter to test it, the way how you can use an auto range multimeters. So I'm going to teach you all that, how to use them. I will also go through on how, I will also teach you on how to use an oscillators. I will teach you many things, so you should be tuned on our channel. You should not go away from our channel. You just continue, call a friend, tell a friend that Science Tech is here to teach you, so you should be with us. So but before I leave this place, you should make sure that in your workshop, should make sure that you have water for washing your hands, because now after using this soldering iron, some particles might remain in your hands or in your fingernails, so you need to actually wash your hands very well before eating. So you have to make sure that you have water with you. In your workshop, you should make sure that it's well ventilated, because you can cause burn to yourself in case it's not well ventilated. And sometimes it also, these when we are using this soldering wire here, there's some smoke which is coming from this soldering wire, and now those smokes there, when you see a smoke coming from a soldering wire, that means that soldering wire has what we call a flux. But when you are soldering and the smoke doesn't come out of the soldering wire, you just know the soldering wire is lead free, so you just know that that one doesn't have what we call a flux. So I was still telling you that when we are soldering, there's a smoke which comes from this soldering wire here. But so when you inhale this smoke here, it can cause harm to you. So you should make sure that where you are soldering is well ventilated, in that this smoke, most of them goes outside, so it can't cause harm to you. But in workshop also, you should know that we should also have what we call a magnifier. A magnifier should be with you, but many people do prefer using magnifier than a microscope, because a microscope is somehow a bit very expensive, so it's very hard to access it, and you can even look for it in other countries, but you can't get them in their shops. So it's better for you to have at least a magnifier glass with you. So what do a magnifier do? A magnifier helps us to magnify some other components. There are other components which you can't see it very well when you are soldering. So for you to help you out with to help you see these components clearly, you have to use a magnifier to magnify this component, and you do solder it very well. But now, before I leave this solder, what I can tell you that this soldering wire here, as you see it here, for you to, when you are using, as I told you from the first, that when you buy a lead-free soldering iron, you should make sure that you have a flux with you. Should make sure you know how to use even a flux. You first of all need to apply a flux on what you are going to solder. Then after applying a flux, then you bring this solder. And when you do apply a flux, it will solder very well, and it will also bring a smoke, which I told you that comes out of this solder, because now ours here has a flux on it. So it's better for you to buy this kind of a soldering. So these brushes here, you can also have the bigger ones, you can also have the smaller ones. In electronics, you should also have what a power source, a power regulators. Now a power regulators, what does it do in most cases? It helps us when you are repairing electronic components, because there are some other electronic components which has input of 10 volts, and now you want to put it direct. So for you to manage this, or not to blow all someone's electronic device, you have to use this power regulator to actually regulate it, because for it you can change the knob to any volt you want. Even if you want 10 volt, you can change it. Even if you want 20 volt, you can change it. Even if you want even if you want 10 volt, let me say 5 volts, you can get it. And there are some other electronic device, as you know it very well. In most of our workshops, we do use electricity. So there are other electronic components which uses only a DC power. So for these electronic devices which always uses a DC power, so we do use these power regulators to actually change from AC to DC. So you can also change your power using this power regulator from AC, then it changes it to DC, whereby the output from this regulator will be the DC, and you can also make it to be the output to be the AC. So that's the use of this power regulator. So you should all have this with you, because now this will help you much more better. And we should also have what we call an oscillator. But an oscillator, in most cases, it's being used actually to measure the frequencies. That's the use of an oscillators. And for it, when you are using it to measure, it has a display on it whereby it shows you the frequencies, whereby you can know the sine waves and so on. So that thing we shall teach you next time. Continue watching Science Tech. You tell a friend, call a friend to tell a friend, such that you come on Science Tech. We shall continue teaching you very well. And when you are having this multimeter here, should make sure that this multimeter should have these two testing leads, whereby we have the blacker one, which is the common, then we have also this red one, whereby this red one can be alternated in different, for example, when you are testing something which is actually of 10 amps, you have to change it. You shouldn't test this from the other side, because now when you test it from this side, it's going to blow each, and when you test it from this side, you are going to blow each and everything. But for multimeter, as I told you, I'm going to teach you next time. So you just call a friend and tell a friend to be with us, Science Tech. Science Tech, we are here to teach you, and we are here to guide you on electronics. So we shall take you through each and everything you want to know in electronics. And you have to know, we have also this blue thing here. This is what we call a silicon board. In electronics, this is what we call a silicon board. You should make sure that you have this silicon board with you in an electronic workshop. You should have this. What does this silicon board do? Most of the silicon board, for them, they are heat resistor. It doesn't allow, it's a heat proof. Let me say it's a heat proof. For example, when you are soldering, there are some soldering particle or solder particle which might fall on this. But even if it falls on this silicon board here, it won't burn it, because for it already it's a heat resistor. And for it can't allow any burn in this place, in this area, or in our workshop here. So for you to prevent burn in your workshop, you should always have this silicon board with you, because for it will help you out. Even if you put this soldering iron here, the tip here, it won't burn this soldering silicon, this silicon board. So you should always have silicon board with you, because this will protect you in case you don't have a silicon board with you. Because I know some other people, they say now silicon board is expensive. You can also have metal. Maybe you put it under where you are soldering for you to prevent those burn. But never use paper. Never use something which is flammable, because now you are going to cause problem to yourself, and sometimes you will spoil it and everything. So you have to make sure that you use something which is inflammable, then you put it under your soldering iron, or your workplace where you are going to work, in that it can prevent burn in your workplace. Because when this happens, it will also cause harm to yourself. Sometimes it can also make you get lost for no reason. So you should make sure you buy a silicon board, or if not a silicon board, you should make sure you should make sure at least you have something which is not flammable, or which is unflammable, in that which cannot cause for you problems to yourself. In some other workshop, some other people also have boards. These boards, they always use, some other people use them to build their electronic devices. So these boards also do help them mash. So thank you very much for watching Science Tech. Stay tuned on Science Tech. Next time I will take you through other things. So tell a friend and call a friend. Tell him Science Tech is here to teach, to educate, and to inform you also. I understand at the end of our lesson, everyone gets to understand very well. But don't care and don't worry. You can also supplement on what I've been teaching, because what I've taught you comes from my brain, and that's what I know. So it's good that you also add in, or you supplement on what I've said, because I do understand there are some other people there outside there who do have different components, who do have different tools which they use on their electronic components. It's feel free to comment on our comment section, and we get to know. So we need to teach other, and you tell a friend, and also you teach a friend. So we need to learn from each other. Don't worry. Keep tuned. We are still with you. This is Science Tech. Thank you.